Are you coming out of a relationship, or maybe even a situationship, that ended with someone who felt distant, emotionally unavailable, hard to reach, or impossible to read? And you're left wondering not just if you can reconnect with them, but whether you even should. Maybe it ended quietly. No dramatic fight, no clear explanation, just that slow, fading silence only avoidant people know how to create, where they shut down, pull away, and leave you questioning whether any of it ever meant what you thought it did. And now you're here, replaying moments in your mind, searching for signs, asking yourself if it's worth trying again, or if doing so would only cost you more of yourself. If any of that feels familiar, you're not alone, and you're not crazy. You're standing at the edge of something most men never get taught how to face, the crossroads between reconnection and self-preservation. And in today's video, we're going to walk through 5 powerful steps that can help you reconnect with an avoidant ex, but only in a way that honors your self-worth, protects your emotional clarity, and keeps you grounded in your strength. Because this isn't just about getting her back. This is about finding yourself again in the process and deciding whether the version of her you're reconnecting with is even capable of meeting the man you've become. If this message speaks to where you are right now, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station. Now let's begin with the first and most important step. Step 1. Ask yourself, are we making the right decision? Before you reach out, before your fingers hover over her name, tempted to send that text, pause. This moment, right here, before contact is re-established, is more powerful than it seems. Because the question isn't how to get her back, it's why. Most men get caught in the gravity of the past. They think about the laughter, the intimacy, the comfort of being known, and they want it back, urgently. But wanting her back isn't the same as being ready for her. And longing isn't proof of love. It's often just the ache of something unresolved within you. This is where the deeper truth lives. If nothing has changed, then nothing will change. The version of the relationship that ended can't be revived by nostalgia or persistence. And if you step back into that old version, hoping for a different result, you're not rebuilding, you're relapsing. So ask yourself, truly ask, have both of you grown since the breakup? Are you capable of sitting down and having honest, uncomfortable conversations without deflecting, blaming, or shutting down? Are you both willing to acknowledge the unmet needs that were buried beneath silence, anger, or avoidance? And more than that, can you create new ways to handle conflict? Ones that don't just sound good when you're calm, but actually hold when things get hard again. This isn't about proving you still love each other. It's about proving you can love each other better. Because emotional chemistry means nothing if communication collapses the moment things get tough. Reconnection without evolution is just repetition. And here's the part that stings a little. If your deepest reason for wanting her back is to stop hurting, you're not making a decision. You're making a trade. Trading growth for comfort. Trading accountability for fantasy. And that never ends well. So before you reach out, make sure the person doing the reaching isn't just desperate to fix the past, but ready to build a future with the strength, the truth, and the tools that didn't exist before. Step 2. Go no contact and mean it. When the relationship ends, your instinct may scream at you to do something. Explain yourself, defend your side, correct the misunderstanding, or chase her before the connection fades. But chasing someone who just emotionally closed the door isn't love. It's panic. And panic is the last place you want to speak from, especially with someone who has an avoidant attachment style. The more you pursue, the more they retreat. Avoidants don't respond to emotional pressure the way others might. They interpret closeness as danger, and your effort to fix things as a threat to their fragile sense of independence. That's why silence in this case isn't cruelty. It's protection for both of you. They need distance to feel safe again, and you need distance to reclaim your clarity. You might think your silence will go unnoticed, that it won't matter, but you'd be wrong. Because avoidants don't process their grief immediately. They delay it. They distract themselves with noise, friends, work, alcohol, meaningless flirtations, anything to escape the emotional weight they locked away when they told themselves they were fine. But that illusion has a shelf life, and when the distractions quiet down and the novelty fades, the box they shoved their feelings into begins to rattle. That moment doesn't happen in the first few days or even the first month, but somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks, the emotions they tried to bury come back, uninvited, and suddenly you're not just a name in their past. You're a presence in their mind again, not because you chased them, but because you disappeared long enough for their own heart to speak. That's the power of true no contact, not silence as strategy, but silence as strength. You're not waiting around, counting days. You're reclaiming your dignity, honoring your emotions, and giving the space needed for real reflection to begin on both sides. Because if you break the silence too soon, if you reach out just to soothe your loneliness or prove you still matter, you're not reconnecting from peace. You're reacting from fear, and fear always makes noise. But healing learns to speak in quiet. If you can't sit with the silence, if the stillness makes you restless, then you're not ready to reconnect. You're not even ready to talk. Because real love, the kind that endures, doesn't come from closing the gap too fast. It comes from letting the silence do its work, and only breaking it when you know who you are on the other side. Step 3. Reconnect gently, without pressure. When you finally feel ready to reach out again, when the dust has settled and your mind feels calm instead of desperate, don't rush back in like a man trying to reclaim what was lost. You're not here to pick up where you left off. You're here to test the water, to see if anything still lives beneath the surface. And that kind of clarity requires patience, not pressure. Start small. A simple, kind message is enough, not a grand apology. Not an invitation to revisit old wounds. Just something human and light. "Hey, I've been thinking about you. How have you been?" That one line carries more power than 1,000 over-explained paragraphs. It says, "I remember you, but I'm not here to demand anything from you." And that subtle tone is everything when reconnecting with someone who pulls away under emotional weight. There's a reason avoidants respond better to warmth than urgency. They don't open up through intensity, they open through safety. That means your first few interactions should feel casual, familiar, and pressure-free. If you used to share inside jokes, use one. If you bonded over something specific, a show, a song, a place, reference it. Remind them, gently, of the connection you once had, but without dragging it into the emotional courtroom. Give this phase time. 2 to 3 weeks of slow, steady contact is often enough to gauge whether the door is opening or staying shut. If the tone is neutral or positive and she's responding at her own pace, you'll feel it. That's your green light to suggest a casual, in-person meetup, something simple like coffee, a walk, or a low-key lunch. Not a date, not a DTR talk, just shared space to observe the energy between you now, not who you were before. But perhaps the most important part of all, set a deadline for yourself. Emotional investment without a time limit can become self-abandonment. So decide now. How long are you willing to try? If this was a shorter relationship, maybe a few months of gradual reconnection is enough. If it was something long-term, a marriage, a shared life, perhaps you give it more time. But make that timeline clear in your own mind. Because when you try without intention, you risk losing yourself chasing someone who may already be emotionally gone. And if she's not making space for you again, then don't make her the center of yours. This phase is about seeing what's real, what remains, not about forcing what once was to come back. Rebuilding trust with an avoidant ex is less about big gestures and more about how gently you can show up without demanding anything. And sometimes the strongest message you'll ever send is the one that expects nothing in return. Step 4. Meet in person, then be honest without pressure. Once the early signs of connection feel mutual, when conversations begin to flow again without tension or obligation, it's time to bridge the digital distance and meet face to face. But don't turn it into a performance. The purpose of this meeting isn't to impress or convince her of anything. It's simply to be present, grounded, and real in the same space again. Choose something simple: a cup of coffee, a walk in a park, a quiet drink. The less pressure, the better. The goal is not to recreate a date, it's to reintroduce presence. Sometimes just sitting beside someone you once loved, without rushing into definitions or expectations, reveals more than words ever could. Pay attention to how you both feel in the silence, not just in the conversation. If the energy feels safe, if there's warmth without confusion, see each other again. Let the reconnection breathe. Between the first and second meeting, keep communication light and steady, but don't overcompensate. You're not auditioning, you're observing, and so is she. Then, during or after the second meeting, when the ice has thawed and you're no longer guessing whether there's still a spark, lean into honesty. But do it calmly. Do it without an agenda. You don't need a perfect script, just something true, something simple. I'm still carrying feelings for you. I'm not trying to force anything, but I also don't want to act like those feelings don't exist. Then stop. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let her feel the weight of your honesty, not the pressure of your hope. Because in that stillness, more than in her words, you'll see what's really alive between you. Some people will hold your truth gently. Others will back away from it. What matters is not what she says in that moment, but what her response reveals about where she truly stands. This isn't about delivering a confession. It's about opening a door, and what she does next tells you whether she's willing to step through it or leave it closed. Either way, your power lies in your ability to be honest without expecting anything in return. That's the difference between chasing closure and becoming it. Step 5. Have the real conversation. If the reconnection feels mutual, if the tone between you is no longer tense or uncertain, and both of you are showing up with presence instead of pretense, then it's time. This is where the truth either strengthens the foundation or exposes the cracks. And no matter how much progress you think you've made, none of it matters if you can't sit down and have the real conversation. This is the moment where you stop playing safe, where you stop dancing around the reasons it all fell apart, and you look each other in the eye and ask the question that separates wishful thinking from actual readiness. Before we even think about trying again, can we talk about what broke this the first time? Then let the questions come, gently but directly. What went wrong between us? What made us feel unseen, unheard, or unsafe? What patterns kept repeating? And what would actually need to change if we wanted something healthier this time around, not just familiar, but better? This isn't a confrontation, it's clarity. You're not here to blame or relive the pain. You're here to see if there's any mutual willingness to do the emotional heavy lifting that real love requires. Because here's the hard truth. If she can't take accountability, if she avoids talking about what hurt, or still clings to old defenses when things get uncomfortable, then you have your answer. It doesn't matter if she's avoidant or anxious, or doesn't do emotions well. This isn't about attachment theory. This is about shared responsibility. You cannot fix a relationship alone. You cannot carry all the insight, all the growth, all the maturity, while she shrinks back into avoidance. That's not rebuilding, that's rescue. And you were not put on this earth to rescue someone who won't meet you halfway. So ask yourself, honestly, quietly, do I want to be walking on eggshells just to win them back? That single question can save you years of emotional exhaustion. Because if being with her again means you have to mute your needs, tiptoe around her distance, or beg for connection, then what you're chasing isn't love, it's survival. And survival always comes at the cost of self-respect. If the conversation goes well, if it's honest, mutual, and rooted in genuine care, you'll feel it. And from there, something new can begin. But if the conversation goes sideways, or worse, nowhere at all, don't try to force clarity where it's being withheld. That is your moment to walk away, not with anger, but with grace. Because walking away when someone can't meet you emotionally isn't failure. It's a man choosing dignity over delusion. And that choice will always lead you closer to peace, even if it hurts in the short term. Getting your avoidant ex back was never supposed to be a mission to prove your value, outsmart her defense mechanisms, or play psychological chess until she folds. It's not about getting her to realize what she lost or crafting the perfect version of yourself just to be chosen again. Because real love doesn't bloom in performance, it grows in truth. This process, at its core, isn't about getting her back at all. It's about getting you back, the man you were before the confusion, before the fear, before you started bending who you are just to feel close to someone who wasn't emotionally available. It's about reclaiming your voice, not silencing it for the sake of connection. It's about holding your standards, not lowering them to stay in someone's life. And above all, it's about honoring your emotional truth, even if it means walking away from someone you once thought was everything. Because here's the truth most men don't want to face. The real power doesn't come from making her want you again. It comes from becoming the man who no longer needs to be wanted by someone who won't meet him all the way. You don't chase peace, you build it within. You don't beg for connection, you offer it to those who are capable of holding it with you. And if she can't, you let go, not as a loss, but as a choice. A choice to rise above survival-level love and step into something deeper, quieter, stronger. Because in the end, it's not about getting her back. It's about becoming the man who never loses himself again. If this message brought you clarity, take a moment, sit with it. Let it settle in your heart before you act. If it resonated with you, like the video. Subscribe to Stoic Station, and above all, keep walking forward with calm, with strength, and with uncompromising self-respect.